In the vast expanse of our modern world, where every moment is logged, every movement tracked, the idea of something simply vanishing seems impossible. Yet, on a routine night, from a routine airport, a state-of-the-art aircraft, carrying hundreds of lives, did just that. It disappeared. Without a distress call. Without a trace. A ghost in the sky, then nothing. How does a Boeing 777, one of the safest and most sophisticated machines ever built, simply cease to exist? This is the story of MH370, an enigma that continues to haunt the skies. It was March 8, 2014. A seemingly ordinary Friday night at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777-200ER, prepared for its scheduled overnight journey. Destination: Beijing Capital International Airport. On board were 227 passengers from 14 different nations and 12 crew members. A diverse group, each with their own story, their own destination. Families, business travelers, tourists. For them, this was merely a means to an end. A routine flight. Or so they believed. The aircraft itself, 9M MRO, was a Boeing 777-200ER, a twin-engine wide-body jet. Delivered in 2002, it had accumulated over 53,000 flight hours. The 777 series has an impeccable safety record, a workhorse of long-haul aviation, trusted globally. It was equipped with sophisticated communication and navigation systems, designed for constant contact with air traffic control and ground stations. A marvel of engineering, built to be visible, traceable, and above all, safe. Its disappearance was, by all accounts, an anomaly of epic proportions. At the controls was Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah, a highly experienced pilot with over 18,000 flight hours. He had been with Malaysia Airlines since 1981. His first officer, Fariq Abdul Hamid, was also seasoned, with over 2,700 hours. This was not a novice crew. They were professionals, trained for every contingency, masters of their craft. The human element, often a factor in air incidents, here seemed beyond reproach. Their expertise, however, would do little to prevent the unfolding mystery, or to offer any explanation for it. At 12:42 a.m., MH370 lifted off from Kuala Lumpur, climbing into the night sky. The initial phase of the flight was unremarkable. Routine. Standard. The aircraft tracked its planned route, heading northeast over the Malaysian peninsula towards the South China Sea. Communication with Kuala Lumpur air traffic control was normal. Weather conditions were favorable. All systems appeared nominal. There was no indication, not a single flickering light or anomalous reading, to suggest the profound anomaly that was about to engulf this flight. At 1:19 a.m., as MH370 approached the boundary between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace, the crew exchanged their final routine radio transmission with Kuala Lumpur ATC. "Good night, Malaysian 370, came the voice, believed to be First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid. This was the last verbal communication from the cockpit. A simple, polite farewell. Within minutes, the aircraft was expected to establish contact with Ho Chi Minh City ATC. But that call, that expected handoff, would never occur. The silence would begin to descend. Just moments after that good night, at 1:21 a.m., MH370 disappeared from civilian air traffic control radar screens. Not a crash. Not an explosion. Simply gone. The transponder, a device that broadcasts the aircraft's identity, speed, and altitude to ATC, ceased transmitting. Its signal vanished. This was the first, chilling sign that something was gravely wrong. An abrupt, inexplicable cessation of data. The digital footprint erased, leaving only a void where a massive aircraft should have been. The silence had begun its terrifying expansion. Compounding the mystery, the Aircraft Communications Addressing and Reporting System, or ACARS, also ceased transmitting. ACARS automatically sends operational data about the aircraft's health and performance to ground stations. Its last message was sent at 1:07 a.m., just before the transponder went silent. This was crucial. The ACARS system was designed to operate independently of the transponder, using different communication channels. For both to go dark almost simultaneously suggested a deliberate act, or a catastrophic failure of an extremely specific nature. The puzzle pieces were already refusing to fit. Initially, air traffic controllers believed the plane had simply crossed into Vietnamese airspace and that communication would be re-established. But as minutes stretched into an hour, then two, a terrifying realization dawned. MH370 was not just out of contact, it was missing. Attempts to hail the aircraft on various frequencies went unanswered. Distress calls from other aircraft in the vicinity also yielded no response. The silence was absolute. And with each passing moment, the scale of the unfolding crisis grew, along with the chilling uncertainty. While civilian radar saw nothing, Malaysian military radar, operating on a different frequency and for different purposes, did detect an unidentified aircraft. This contact, however, showed the plane had made a sharp turn to the west, recrossing the Malaysian peninsula. It then headed northwest, over the Strait of Malacca. This track was confirmed by multiple military radar stations. It defied the flight plan. It defied logic. This wasn't a plane veering slightly off course. This was a significant, deliberate deviation, indicating either a conscious act or an unprecedented failure. The last confirmed military radar contact placed MH370 at 2:22 a.m., flying over the Andaman Sea, northwest of Penang. It was heading away from its intended destination, far from any established air routes for a Beijing-bound flight. After this point, military radar lost the aircraft as it flew out of range. For over an hour after its civilian disappearance, MH370 was a ghost, observable only to a different, less immediate tracking system. The question loomed: who was flying this ghost, and where were they taking it? Then came the most baffling clue: satellite handshakes. Despite ACARS being off, a satellite communication system on the Boeing 777 still periodically exchanged automated signals, or pings, with an Inmarsat satellite. These pings contained no data, no voice, just confirmation that the aircraft's satellite terminal was still online. They continued for hours after radar contact was lost. 7 pings, to be precise, recorded every hour until 8:19 a.m. This wasn't a crash. The plane was still flying. But where? The Inmarsat data, meticulously analyzed, did not give a precise location, but it did reveal an arc. This arc represented all the possible locations where the aircraft could have been at the time of each ping. A vast, curving line stretching thousands of miles across the Indian Ocean. It was a digital breadcrumb trail, yet one that led into an immense, watery wilderness. The southern part of this arc, deep in the remote southern Indian Ocean, became the focus. But this was merely a mathematical possibility, not a definitive path. The search area had just exploded in size. The initial search efforts, based on the last civilian radar contact, focused on the South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand. An international armada of ships and aircraft combed the surface, searching for wreckage, for oil slicks, for any sign. False alarms were frequent. Floating debris, mistaken for parts of the plane, only added to the frustration. As days turned into weeks, and the Inmarsat data gained prominence, the focus shifted dramatically. The initial search had been in the wrong place. The true challenge was only just beginning. The search for MH370 quickly became one of the largest and most complex in aviation history. Nations from around the world contributed resources: ships, planes, submarines, and expert personnel. Australia, leading the Southern Indian Ocean effort, collaborated closely with Malaysia and China, among others. The scale was unprecedented, a testament to the shared urgency and empathy for the missing. Yet, despite this colossal effort, the ocean guarded its secrets fiercely. The sheer magnitude of the task defied even the most advanced technology and human determination. The Southern Indian Ocean is one of the most remote and inhospitable places on Earth. Depths plunge to over 6,000 meters, deeper than the Grand Canyon is wide. Its waters are notoriously turbulent, its weather unpredictable. Searching this colossal, dark abyss was like looking for a needle in a haystack, where the haystack was an ocean and the needle was a plane fragmented into countless pieces. The immense pressure at those depths would have shattered the fuselage. Finding anything required technology pushed to its absolute limits. Early in the deep-sea search, hope briefly surged with the detection of acoustic pings. These signals, consistent with those emitted by an aircraft's flight recorders, the black boxes, were detected by a towed pinger locator. For weeks, search teams chased these elusive sounds. But the ocean is full of natural sounds, and even man-made ones. The signals faded, became intermittent, and could not be definitively correlated. The window for the black box's battery life was closing. This false lead would prove to be one of the most agonizing disappointments. For the families of the 239 passengers and crew, the agonizing weight was unbearable. Each new lead, each glimmer of hope, was met with crushing disappointment. They grappled not only with grief, but with the profound lack of closure. No wreckage. No bodies. Just questions. The ambiguity created a unique torment, suspending them in a state of perpetual limbo. How does one mourn when there is nothing to mourn over, no definitive explanation, no final resting place? Their pleas for answers echoed across the globe, a desperate cry against the silent ocean. In the absence of concrete answers, theories multiplied. Everything from hijacking, pilot suicide, and mechanical failure to fire, terrorism, and even alien abduction or Bermuda Triangle-like phenomena were proposed. Some were plausible, some bordered on the fantastical. The internet became a hotbed of speculation, each theory attempting to fill the vacuum of information. This proliferation of ideas, while understandable, often obfuscated the factual investigation, adding layers of noise to an already complex signal. The truth, if it existed, remained stubbornly hidden. Then, over a year later, a breakthrough. On July 29, 2015, a barnacle-encrusted aircraft part washed ashore on Reunion Island, nearly 4,000 kilometers from the primary search area. It was a flaperon, a control surface from a wing. The part's distinct markings, 657BB, were quickly identified as belonging to a Boeing 777. Forensic analysis confirmed it. This was indeed a piece of MH370. The finding provided the first tangible evidence of the plane's fate. It had, without a doubt, ended its journey in the Indian Ocean. But where exactly, and why? The discovery of the flaperon, and subsequent smaller pieces of debris found along the coastlines of African nations, provided crucial validation for the Southern Indian Ocean hypothesis. Oceanographers and drift modelers meticulously simulated the probable paths of debris from a hypothetical crash site. Their calculations showed that wreckage from the defined search zone could indeed have drifted to Reunion Island and other locations. These findings, while confirming the general area, still left the precise crash site elusive. The ocean currents were a cruel, slow messenger, delivering fragments of truth over vast distances and even vaster time. Over the next few years, more debris believed to be from MH370 surfaced on various Indian Ocean coastlines. Mozambique, Tanzania, Mauritius, South Africa. These finds included fragments of engine cowlings, cabin interior panels, and even a section of a wing flap. Each piece, no matter how small, was a piece of the puzzle. Each confirmed the plane's violent end. Yet, these fragments could only tell asterisk where asterisk the plane had ultimately crashed, not asterisk how asterisk or asterisk y star. They were silent witnesses to the final moments, unable to speak of the journey's cause. The primary search zone in the southern Indian Ocean eventually covered 120,000 square kilometers. Advanced sonar, autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, and remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, systematically scoured the seabed. But even with this technological might, the vastness of the search area and the challenging underwater terrain proved insurmountable. The funding, immense as it was, could not last forever without results. The search was a monumental undertaking, yet the ocean scale dwarfed even this heroic effort, swallowing resources and hope alike. After 1,046 days, and an expenditure of over $160 million, the official search for MH370 was suspended on January 17, 2017. The joint statement from Malaysia, Australia, and China acknowledged the profound sadness and the lingering questions. They admitted the search had found no trace of the main wreckage. The decision was devastating for the families. While technical experts believed the plane's resting place was still within the seventh arcade, without more credible information, the resources for such a monumental task simply ran out. The mystery, officially, remained unsolved. Despite the official suspension, the analytical work continued. New methodologies, Particularly, a refined understanding of the Inmarsat data through a technique called Bayesian analysis narrowed the probable location of the crash. Experts used this data to generate more precise drift models and refined underwater search areas. The science was becoming clearer, even if the actual wreckage remained hidden. It was a testament to the persistent intellectual effort, fueled by the desire for answers, even when the physical search had ceased. Driven by the updated analysis and a desire for closure, a private company, Ocean Infinity, launched a no-find, no-fee search operation in January 2018. Their advanced fleet of autonomous underwater vehicles covered an additional 112,000 square kilometers of seabed. 4 months, hope flickered. High-resolution sonar scans meticulously mapped vast swathes of the deep ocean. But despite their cutting-edge technology and dedication, they too returned empty-handed. In May 2018, Ocean Infinity search concluded. Another chapter in the quest for answers closed, leaving the central question unanswered. With no wreckage found and no definitive cause, the original theories resurfaced, some gaining more traction. The ghost flight scenario, where the plane continued flying on autopilot after all on board were incapacitated, gained weight. Was it hypoxia? A sudden, incapacitating event? Or was there a human hand involved, deliberately guiding the plane off course, disabling its communications, and flying it into oblivion? The lack of a distress call, the deliberate turns, the silence, these elements continued to point to a complex, perhaps even sinister, chain of events. Even without a definitive answer, MH370 spurred significant changes in aviation safety. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, introduced new standards, including improved tracking for all commercial flights, ensuring that no aircraft could ever again vanish for so long without a trace. Enhanced black box battery life and location beacons capable of transmitting from greater depths were also mandated. The tragedy of MH370 became a stark, undeniable lesson, forcing the industry to confront the unthinkable and build safeguards against such a profound disappearance. Years have passed, but for the families, the wound remains open. They continue their fight for answers, organizing, advocating, keeping the memory of their loved ones alive. For them, MH370 is not a mystery to be solved by scientists or governments alone, but a personal tragedy that demands closure. The silence from the Indian Ocean is a constant reminder of what was lost and what remains unknown. Their resilience, born of unimaginable grief, stands as a testament to the enduring human need for truth, even against overwhelming odds. MH370 is more than just an aviation mystery. It is a profound question mark etched into the fabric of our modern age. How, in an era of ubiquitous surveillance and interconnected technology, could a massive passenger jet simply disappear? It challenges our understanding of control, our faith in systems, and our very perception of reality. The case forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge, the vastness of our planet, and the enduring power of the unknown. And so, the central question persists, haunting the depths, echoing in the air, refusing to be silenced. The theories surrounding MH370 largely fall into two main categories: accidental or deliberate. Was it a sudden catastrophic mechanical failure or an event like rapid decompression leading to hypoxia, rendering the crew unconscious, and resulting in an uncontrolled ghost flight on autopilot until fuel ran out? Or, was there a deliberate act? The disabling of communication systems, the sharp westward turn, and the sustained flight for hours point strongly towards intentional action. This deliberate path, rather than an accidental one, is what many experts now consider the most likely scenario, albeit one without direct evidence of motive or perpetrator. The lack of wreckage only reinforces the ambiguity. One particular piece of information, analyzed later, added weight to the deliberate act theory: Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah's home flight simulator. Forensic examination of the simulator's hard drive revealed a simulated flight path deep into the southern Indian Ocean, similar to MH370's projected course. This discovery, made only after the flaperon was found, fueled intense speculation. Was this merely a coincidence, a pilot's hobby? Or was it a chilling rehearsal? The Malaysian investigation, while not conclusive, acknowledged this data, but stressed it was not proof of culpability. Another layer of disturbing detail, without a definitive explanation. The Inmarsat satellite pings, initially baffling, became the bedrock of the search efforts. These automated hourly connections, designed to maintain satellite communication viability, inadvertently charted the plane's unseen journey. The raw data, a series of 7 partial handshakes, provided the only reliable clues to the plane's trajectory after its disappearance from radar. Without this unexpected, almost accidental, digital breadcrumb trail, the world would have had even less to go on, the mystery even deeper. It transformed what would have been a land-based search into a daunting oceanic quest. Even with the Inmarsat data, disagreements arose over the precise search area. Different experts, using slightly different models and interpretations of the data, suggested varying priority zones. Some argued the plane could have been traveling faster or slower, altering the final impact point. This scientific debate, while rigorous, added to the public's confusion and the family's frustration. The ocean, immense and unforgiving, allowed for multiple interpretations of its sparse clues, making the task of pinpointing the wreckage even more formidable. The uncertainty was as vast as the search itself. Today, the most widely accepted theory among aviation experts is that MH370 became a ghost flight. After a deliberate or catastrophic event incapacitated the crew and passengers, the plane continued on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. The crucial elements supporting this are the lack of communication, the deliberate course deviation, and the continued Inmarsat pings. This scenario, while chilling, is often considered the most coherent explanation for the available data, accounting for the plane's long, silent journey into the deep southern Indian Ocean. A terrifying possibility, still unproven. If the ghost flight theory holds true, the aircraft would have spiraled into the ocean after exhausting its fuel. The impact, at high speed, would have been catastrophic, likely breaking the Boeing 777 into countless pieces. The discovery of small, fragmented debris, consistent with a high-energy impact, supports this. Large sections of the plane, including the fuselage, would have sunk rapidly, perhaps even imploding under the immense pressure of the deep ocean. This explains why no large pieces of the aircraft, or any significant quantity of human remains, have ever been recovered. Only the silent witnesses of small, scattered fragments. Will MH370 ever truly be found? The technology continues to evolve. New analytical methods, more advanced underwater vehicles, and even artificial intelligence could potentially reanalyze existing data or lead new, more targeted searches. But the window for discovery shrinks with each passing year, and the costs remain astronomical. Without new, compelling evidence, a renewed large-scale search is unlikely. The possibility remains that the secrets of MH370 will stay buried in the deep, a permanent reminder of the ocean's vast, unconquerable power. The disappearance of MH370 remains one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time. It changed how we track planes, forcing a reckoning with vulnerabilities previously unimagined. It highlighted the profound emotional toll on families left without answers. And it demonstrated the humbling power of nature, swallowing a modern marvel whole. This event transcends a simple accident or incident. It has become a modern myth, a stark narrative of technological hubris meeting the untamed wilderness of our planet. A story of a journey that began with good night, Malaysian 370, and ended in an enduring, chilling silence. For many, the search for MH370 cannot simply end. The families, and a dedicated community of experts, continue to advocate for a renewed effort, believing that the truth is within reach. They argue that every new piece of data, however small, brings us closer. To abandon the search entirely, they contend, is to abandon the 239 souls on board, and to accept the unsettling premise that a plane can simply vanish in the 21st century. The quest for resolution, for understanding, for the final piece of the puzzle, persists. The silence demands an answer. The story of MH370 is not a closed book. It is a narrative still unfolding, layer by layer, in the minds of those who refuse to forget. Every analysis, every theory, every fragment of debris found, adds another line to this chilling saga. It stands as a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between human ingenuity and the unpredictable forces of nature, or perhaps, human intent. The plane that vanished without a trace became a symbol of our collective vulnerability and our enduring fascination with the mysteries that defy explanation. A journey into the unknown, whose final destination remains elusive. So, What do we definitively know about MH370? We know it departed Kuala Lumpur. We know it vanished from civilian radar. We know it made a deliberate westward turn. We know it continued flying for hours, its presence confirmed by satellite pings. We know, from the debris, that it ultimately crashed into the southern Indian Ocean. What we do not know, however, is the central, agonizing question. Why? Why did it veer off course? Why were its systems disabled? Why was there no distress call? The core motivations and specific events aboard MH370 during its final journey remain submerged, along with its main wreckage, in the deepest waters of profound mystery. Ultimately, the flight that began with such ordinary purpose found an extraordinary, silent end. Its final destination was not Beijing, but a watery grave in one of the most remote parts of our planet. The Indian Ocean holds its secrets, vast and cold, a silent testament to an unprecedented event. Perhaps one day, a new piece of technology, an unexpected discovery, or a fresh perspective will finally illuminate the darkness that surrounds MH370. Until then, the plane that vanished without a trace will continue to fly in our collective imagination, a haunting symbol of an unfinished story.